Welcome to the Dark Horse Paranormal Podcast. I am your host, Chris Carr.
And I am Kristen Johnson.
And we have a very special guest with us. We're actually his guest. He's a great friend of ours and also a chef.
Yes.
We decided we would do a show on cooking tonight. And it's Cooking with Demonology.
Oh my God.
Our guest, we're his guest. We had dinner tonight with James Annitto, his lovely girlfriend, Celine, and he is the father of two glorious children, one of which is only 3 weeks old. And we got to visit. We hope he can make an appearance tonight. He's already a rock star.
Yes, he is.
I've advised James to dress him up as a werewolf and bring him out. We'll see if that actually happens. But our guest is James Annitto. He's been a paranormal investigator since the tender age of 15 years old. And he's been at this for a long time. You're a Deacon and a Demonologist, James. And you were recently involved with the Demonology duo. People may know you from your television appearance on The Haunted as well. Mm-hmm. And as well as being the founder and owner of the Dominion. Thank you. Dominion Ministries, which we're part of as well. And I don't know why I have trouble with that Dominion word. I always want to say the Paranormal Ministries. I don't know why. I'm sorry. It's just something in my
Dominion Ministries.
I got dropped on my head as a baby. And I always want to go there. But the Dominion Ministries, which is fantastic. And let's start off a little bit and talk about your childhood. You started again at the tender age of 15 years old.
Yes.
And what were you doing? Were you like going to graveyards and stuff?
Yeah, so some people would say I'm still a child to this day, so I don't know if I deviated away too much from that. But no, definitely. I was going into graveyards, some legendary surroundings. Here around, we have a place called Lat School. Mm-hmm. That was, old psychiatric hospital. It has been torn down now. That it was next to Rhode Island. But of course, I went to these places because I had some sort of interest in the unknown, and it wasn't just urban exploration, but it was to see if things could happen with a bunch of our friends. And really, what kind of got me involved in that is I had a lot of theological questions when I was younger, and on top of it, I was a big person that loved Unsolved Mysteries, Scooby-Doo, Scariest Places on Earth, Most Haunted, and then eventually Ghost Hunters. So I really wanted to apply what I saw on television and said, do people really actually experience ghosts and all these other phenomena? Mm-hmm. And I started dabbling into it. It was really as a hobby at first. It was really more to be scared and really try to figure out an answer.
Sure, there's a fear factor there.
Yeah, of course.
You hear these stories growing up, and for us, it was more like things like In Search of. Reading like Hans Holzer books and
In Search of Leonard Nimoy, right?
Hardy Boys,
Nancy Drew.
Scooby-Doo. Yeah, which was good until Scrappy.
I love Scrappy.
Really? You're a Scrappy guy?
Scrappy kind of guy.
I feel like the show jumped the shark when Scrappy came.
Yeah.
But,
that's how old we are. So anybody else understand about Jump the Shark?
Right? You mentioned the Lad School, and it's a place I've never been to. I've read a lot about. You said it's been knocked down.
Yeah, well, there's a building or two that still exists, but a lot of the campus has been torn down.
Yeah, it's a pretty notoriously haunted location. You want to tell our viewers a little bit about it?
So yeah, as far as the history, I'll butcher it because I don't remember it too fondly.
Okay.
So research it, that's cool, and extra around. But basically, it was one of those notorious locations. Now we have a lot of these places like New England Legends that Jack Bellinger has created, where you can go onto these sites and see, okay, what's the historical place that maybe could be haunted. Back then, when I started getting involved, Dave Giuliano, who's a great friend of mine, who also runs the Ghost Hunter store, had a website called Shadowlands. That was one of the first iterations of going on internet and seeing what haunted locations were. And the Lad School was one of them. It was shut down, I think, maybe early 90s. And basically, when I started getting involved in what I was 2005 when I was 15 years old, right? So 2005 to the 1990s, it was probably shut down for 10 years. So it was starting to be dilapidated. It was falling apart. It was mold. The floors you could crash through because it wasn't taken care of. It was private property.
A children's private school, right?
Children's psychiatric school.
Oh, psychiatric.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they did lobotomies there. It's like
Yeah.
So they did a lot of like what people would call in the forms of mental health days, like probably like really against kind of our ethical system nowadays of how you work on people. They were just throwing caution in the wind and working on people and saying, okay, hopefully this works. Doing shock treatment and stuff like that.
Like a sanitarium.
Yeah. And so basically, because there have been noted people through history that have died there, people would just go there, and unfortunately, it started getting kind of a basis of knowledge of occult rituals there, and people of occult followings would go there, do sacrifices, and would starting to break in at these checking the sound. Was starting to break in because it's private property. You're not really technically supposed to go on there.
Right.
But basically, people started getting jumped there, and the police started becoming more notified of what was going on. So when I started going there, it really wasn't the police volume wasn't huge, and our reasoning of going there was never to cause damage, do anything stupid. It was there just to
vandalize. You're not.
Yeah, we weren't there to vandalize. Even like graveyards, people go down and tombstones and stuff like that, which it's crazy. But that was never what we were intended to do. Right. We were there just to like fear factor, and if we could catch something that was beyond what our understanding was, great. We went in there with flashlights, disposable cameras. Hell, I remember even having a tape recorder that we did like rewind and
it's good for it though.
Oh yeah, analog is great. I love it, but you also got to remember that too when you do analog, you hear the tape. Yeah. You get
a little hiss.
Yeah, a little hiss of it.
But that might be part of what contributes to those EVPs. And people love that old Panasonic. I don't remember the name of it, but that Panasonic recorder that goes for a couple grand on eBay.
Oh yeah, which is crazy, right?
Yeah, it sounds like crap.
And the funny thing about the tape recorder too is I got the tape recorder because back in the day before we had CDs, right, and DVDs, I used to have tapes of like one of them was the Super Mario Bros. Movie, and I had to play the tracks to each of the movies, and that's what and then I started using it in that application to try to receive voice. Another prolific movie too that was around that era was a movie called White Noise with Kevin Costner.
Yes.
That's kind of gave me an idea of EVPs, right? And so the Lad School was just a place of interest. I probably went there over a dozen times, and I've had some experiences that I would say that were interesting. But now that I look back at it, I think it was more of myself emulating what I wanted to experience, or being spooked because it was dark, it was musty. And I probably was even being influenced by some mold or something in that building. Asbestos. So it was fascinating. I definitely look at it as the golden age for me.
Yeah.
But I don't really take in a lot of what I experienced back in my youth as paranormal to this day because I kind of look at it differently now.
Why? How so? How differently? What do you mean?
Well, I was more gullible and a lot more subjective than I am now. You know, everything like that, like noise, like you guys probably couldn't hear that. I hit the chair, but like a knock. Now I realize it could have been the foundation. It could have been the property making noise because it was so old it's falling apart. There's a lot of these things that we were experiencing that could be related to natural phenomena. So that I didn't realize back then because I was young and I was brash and
impressionable.
Impressionable, you know, subjective.
Well, you've had a lot of experience. You know, you've been out there. You've seen a lot of reasons why some of the phenomena occurs, and it turns out to not be paranormal.
Yeah.
Although you have to wonder too, like if the foundation moves at a certain time to create that noise when you're asking a question, why was it that at the time? And, you know, there are other things too.
Of course.
But certainly, you know, the experiences can make you be jaded. Now, we wanted to say, jaded. Well, a little bit. You know, you just learn not to just think everything's paranormal. Not everything's a ghost. You know, I mean, that is as simple as it is. I want to say hi to some of our friends out there. Hey, Steve. What's going on? Hey, Eric.
Hi, Eric. That's my cousin.
Oh, hey, cousin.
What's up, cuz?
Chris always says that.
Amber Young. What's going on? Hello. Joshua Dixon.
Hi, Joshua.
What's going on, buddy? I hope you're doing well. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Yes,
thank you.
So, yeah, do you think that's true though? Like, just from doing so many like haunted events and those sort of things. You do a lot of events. I know you have some good ones coming up to talk about. You've been in a lot of these known haunted locations.
Yeah, from the East Coast to the West Coast.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and they're not paranormal 24/7. There must be times you go, like, well, you know, not a lot really happens.
Yeah.
And just say, well, it's just a house.
Yeah.
You know, what do you think makes a place really haunted, or what places are in particular stand in your mind as being like, wow, that place was screwed up?
So I think it's the traumas that have to be dealt with the location. If there's a severe amount of deaths, it's the land. I also think a part of the puzzle is the people that are a part of an investigation or being there at the right time. Maybe they bring something and it kind of like adds like a connection to what's occurred in the past, and my trauma might influence that trauma, and there might be some common ground. I think there's a lot that can happen to when.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I think there's a lot that happens when you're at a haunted location, and a lot of it is unfortunately, you know, theory, but we've all documented it. We've all been a part of a authentic haunting. You know, you guys just went to a location for the Divinity Ministry, which
that's right.
you know, which you can validate. Maybe she was dealing with something, but maybe more because of herself. So, but that doesn't detract that it was a haunting or some sort of phenomenon involved, right?
May have occurred. Yeah.
So, as far as like the place that I
present at the time of the worst of it.
Yeah, as far as the place that I feel that always intrigues me, and I know it's a big battle right now with people, is Waverly Hills Sanatorium.
Oh yes, save Waverly Hills, please.
So I'm in the middle of that. So I can't pick a side, unfortunately, but I love Waverly Hills, so hopefully it continues. But so Waverly Hills had, I think, 40,000 people that died there. Don't quote me on that. It's roughly around that. A lot of people died there, right?
Sure.
So that land's been permeated with lots of death. You know, the body chute.
Yes.
You know, you imagine all the people and some people were buried on that property unmarked. So imagine that the lost soul kind of tendency.
Unmarked graves.
Yeah.
The chutes were there to move the bodies.
Just throw the bodies down into the basement.
To move them quickly and not hurt the patients.
So just imagine.
Basically like a water slide.
Trauma.
Trauma. You know, people, families dying there.
Yeah.
You know, and so that place is probably.
Horrible.
That place is probably one of my favorite locations because I've never not had a bad experience. I've only went there a few times out of the many other places that I've gone to. But every single time I've gone there, I've always had an experience. But the problem with that place, too, is I think it's a great location for somebody that's a novice or an amateur because it is open to the natural outside, you know, natural elements. Because back then, for them to fight tuberculosis, they usually had a structure like Waverly Hills that was open so that the air movement would happen. So it wasn't the tuberculosis wasn't contained in a certain environment. It was just open, right?
Sure.
So it's smart in structure. So that has a lot of outside element involved in it. Like you can hear bugs. If you're trying to do videography, you're going to catch like bugs or bats, birds.
Yes.
So there's so many things that can happen. There's a road not too far from Waverly Hills, even though it is a long driveway. You're still going to have ambient sound from the street, from the road. So you have to eliminate a lot of these things at Waverly Hills, but once again, a lot of trauma happened there.
Right.
So it's a great smorgasbord of a location where you have an ability to take out the natural elements, but also possibly deal with paranormal elements. And shadow play there is one of the big phenomena there. Shadow ghosts or shadow people are a big thing that occur there. And I definitely had a lot of experience with that.
Did you see shadow?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And nobody's in that hallway. Because how can you be? It's a small building. I think it's 6 stories high. 6 stories. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And if somebody's on the 3rd floor walking, and there's no reflective surfaces, right? If somebody's on the 3rd floor walking, and you're on the 5th floor walking, and you see a shadow person, how can that be somebody on the 3rd floor? Because there's no reflective surfaces, right?
Yeah.
So, but that's a natural thing that I've seen, and nobody's been on that floor because you shout, and your voice does travel, does carry, and it's such a cool place. But
Waverly Hills.
Yeah, Waverly Hills, I'd say is my favorite.
We're gonna start a GoFundMe.
I think they have one.
To send us.
They do.
No, it's just
to send you. You don't want to go there right now, or you're gonna have a lot of drama.
Yeah. I followed their page.
We have heard a little of that.
Yep.
Joshua Dixon says they were in court yesterday, and I'm on their side, not the board of directors.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of banter going on about all of that, but like James mentioned, we just hope it'll be open for the public to go. So
yeah, but
you just don't want to pick a side right now.
Yeah, steer clear.
Unfortunately, I know people on the board, and I know the owners, Tina and Charlie. So.
No wonder why. Okay.
Yeah, rock and a hard place there.
Yeah.
But so that's a definite place of hauntings. And I know you went to Mercy Brown quite a bit too as a kid.
Yes.
Over in Exeter wouldn't be too far from that lad school.
Lad school, yeah, for sure.
And Mercy Brown's interesting. He's Rhode Island's most famous vampire.
Yes.
We've talked about her.
Which had tuberculosis, talking about Waverly Hills.
Exactly. That's what you're.
They didn't understand it back then. So.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I believe her brother Edwin, the last kid to die, was had gone to Colorado or something, and he was staying up in the mountains for his tuberculosis.
For air to get better.
Yeah, he went to a retreat up there.
Yeah.
Or a hospital of some type, actually in the mountains, but it did not beat the tuberculosis, even though he ate the ashes of his sister.
Her heart.
Mercy, of her heart. Yeah,
it's pretty crazy.
It's a pretty grim story. If you guys out there are interested, look up Mercy Brown.
Yes.
She's buried here in Rhode Island, and
it's one of the most famous legends out there in this country, actually, and especially if you're a vampire. If you're a vampire culture.
Yeah.
If you're a vampire culture, everybody knows about Mercy Brown's number one, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, we had a kind of a vampire pandemic, or it was really tuberculosis here in Rhode Island and surrounding states, including Massachusetts within the Bridgewater Triangle, and certainly Connecticut too. And they were burying people in funny ways, sometimes taking their heads off, putting cages around the bodies and different things.
It's crazy.
Because they thought they would come back, their relatives could come back. Pretty spooky.
Taking their heads off, their limbs off as well.
Just gonna walk,
right.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So people can get a little nuts when there's disease around that they don't understand.
Yeah, we just lived through that, didn't we not, guys?
Yes,
exactly.
we did.
Yes.
Exactly. People start thinking some crazy thoughts. But, it's unpolitical. It's just facts.
It is. Okay.
It's disease. Disease takes no side of the
Still
aisle.
here too. It's got
All right, it could be. Anyways, so you move on from this stuff and some of the local places. And what was the first team you got in on? How did that work?
So the first team that I ever was a part of was Ghost Hunters of Supernatural Truth, acronym GHOST, right?
Yeah.
And basically why I founded that group was because when I was 15 years old, nobody wanted me. And when I was 15, there was really not many teams. There was Rise Up, which of course is Ken DeCosta's team.
Yeah. Very guy.
And a few other probably the TPMRG had around division, which is the Massachusetts Research Paranormal Group. And there was a few I would say no more than a dozen teams probably. TAPS being one of them, of course, as well. And so nobody wanted a 15-year-old. Even in my youth of growing up in this field, I always had tackled how young I was, all this awesome stuff that I had to tackle. But so when I was 18 years old, I founded this group called Ghost. And it was basically a combination of people that was part of a group called Renowned Paranormal Society, RIPS. And it was founded by Andre Corrier and Shane Johnson. And what their claim to fame was that actually they were on The Haunted, not A Haunting, The Haunted, which was on Animal Planet, and it was based around how animals experience hauntings. And that's how people in the houses would come to find out, oh, there was something in my house because my dog, Nancy, was starting to bark at a corner or become vicious, even though they never were. So there was like a 180 in their personality.
Sure. It's probably cats.
Cats.
Yeah.
Most
Cats.
definitely.
That's a very haunted.
So, so basically, they were involved with a man named Carl Johnson, and their episode was called Demon Attack. So I had started kind of dabbling with rips in the form of talking and kind of like having chit chats about like our paranormal like backgrounds, like why did you get in this, and this is why I got into it, and this is where I've investigated. So it really just started off as a camaraderie, friendship, and basically cool. Andre and Shane had fallen out after the episode of Demon Attacks came out, and me and Andre had become close friends, and we were hanging out all the time. So basically, a few members that had left RIPS, and a few people that had really never done it before, we all came together. Me and Andre co-founded Ghost, and we started doing a lot of the locations in like Grist Mill. We started doing like Mercy Browns. We started doing Slater Mill. A lot of different places that we, even Lad School, places that we thought were interesting. Hell, even in what's the place in Forester, Rhode Island. I forget the name of it. It's an old town. Oh, crap. It's a Tom D'Agostino thing. But
Ramsdale.
Ramsdale
Factory.
Yeah. And so we started going to these local surroundings, like I was doing in my youth. And then we started getting involved in residentials because of Andre's little background with Demon Attack episode. And being involved with residentials, we started dealing with people's houses, which was a first kind of foray for me because I'd never been in somebody's house trying to investigate the paranormal, and I became in love with it because like I get to meet new people, I get to hear their story, how long they've been dealing with it, and kind of seeing like a lot of their interactions of household, how it would interact with the haunting. So I came in love with it.
It's different.
So
it's a different thing than public investigation.
It for sure is. So Ghost was my first endeavor, and it was short-lived because through Andre I had met Carl, and at that time I was going to school for at New Tech. I had recently, when I was in high school, I was in half high school, half VOTEC school, vocational school, and was Cisco networking. And my grandfather in my youth, our hobby thing was to build computers. So I was very kind of versed well with computers, and I love technology. So me and Carl started talking, and I looked up to him because he was on Ghost Hunters the first 2 seasons, and
that's right.
His brother Keith, I actually had kind of come entangled with because I was the electronics department manager at Walmart.
Okay.
And I recognized Keith coming into the store, and had basically said, "Oh, Keith, I recognize you. I'm sorry to fangirl over you, basically." And we started talking about digital recorders and paranormal and his time on Ghost Hunters and what he's up to now. So I actually had met Keith first. But then Carl eventually knew, like, oh, well, this guy can build me a website. He can set up a DVR. He can do all these things that at this point his group needed, and it was Beyond the Veil Paranormal, and they asked me to come on as their tech manager.
Oh, wow.
So I then eventually left Ghost and went with Beyond the Veil Paranormal because for me it wasn't necessarily greener pastures, but it was for me to be able to get more knowledge with someone that at that time probably was 40 years in,
Right.
or maybe
Oh, yeah,
35
for sure.
years in, and I had highly respected, and I was already acquainted with his brother. So I thought it was like a small world was meant to be kind of thing.
Absolutely.
It is Rhode Island, though. It is a small
Yeah,
world.
we're all
But
neighbors
still.
here in Rhode Island. It takes 15 minutes to get anywhere in Rhode
Yeah.
Island, pretty much.
Yeah.
James and I are about 15 minutes apart. It
Yeah.
takes us 15 minutes to get.
Yeah, and you're about 15 minutes from me,
Yeah.
so you're a half hour apart. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a small community and a nice community here as well. And Carl is a super nice guy, super knowledgeable, and I'm sure a lot of people out there are watching us now have seen him on here with you.
Yeah.
So that's cool. We've also talked to Keith and
Yeah,
Tom
Keith's awesome.
D'Agostino.
Keith's
So,
fun.
Yeah, Tom's a good friend of mine too. Yeah.
yeah, Tom's a good
Yeah.
dude.
Tom's really great. Tom and Arlene,
So,
Keith and Sam.
Yep.
so that's how that got going.
Yeah.
So now you're doing your teams, getting into residences, getting that happening.
Yeah.
Where does demonology start to fit in this picture?
When I was working with Carl, I one of the reasons I kind of wanted to work with Carl is because I was very kind of eager to learn what a demonologist was beyond the sense of Ed Warren.
The
I think-
Warrens.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Well, Lorraine wasn't a demonologist.
No,
She was
but-
the clairvoyant. Yeah. So Ed Warren, I was of course well versed in because everybody knew about him, right?
Yeah, of course.
Sorry, it is hot in here.
It's okay.
But their claim to fame was the 70s and 80s, right?
Mm-hmm.
Amityville Horror, The Conjuring House,
Yeah.
so on and so on.
Funny.
Haunting in Connecticut was more like John, but yeah. So there were so many things, of course, the Maurice case, the Devil in Connecticut, which was the Arnie Johnson case, right? Which I wanted to know more beyond a draw drill book. And so I knew Carl had some sort of lineage with them, and I knew Keith did as well. And I really wanted to delve deep into what a demonologist actually did beyond the books, beyond what Ed Warren was said to do. And because I had read the book, I read Hans Holzer, Harry Price material, and all the other stuff that predated where we are now.
Right.
And
right.
I picked up a lot of this because I was
It's super interesting. I mean, what a cool role. Right?
Yeah,
Right.
So
It's like being Han Solo.
it kind of is,
Yeah,
right?
You're a pretty cool guy.
So I really became intrigued in what it is and what's the study. How do they apply it? Is it like just an academic viewpoint, or does the demonologist do something? And really, of course, the demonologist is basic. You can apply the literature and the characteristics of a demonic haunting or a wicked haunting or a malevolent haunting, so on, sinister haunting. And you can see, okay, these are what the characteristics are of what people deal with, and you can try to lump it into an idea or a template of this is what you're dealing with. And I really started dealing with a lot of residentials with him, people claiming that they were possessed, dealing with demonic activity. And I started seeing, a lot of people really aren't dealing with this. I dealt with a lot of cases with him, which were eye-opening to me in the sense, like, we call it the cat piss case, where I opened a door and there's like 12 cats in there. And the reason they were hallucinating probably is because of ammonia. And we sat on it. We sat on it on the couch.
Yeah.
So I started but I really started getting involved with demonology with Carl because one of the things that really was the launching point of me wanting to go that way, besides the cool title, is that we started coming across people, especially when I was in Ghosts, right? That all they wanted was to be, known that they weren't crazy.
Yeah.
But there were other people beyond that that wanted some sort of expulsion or some sort of like separation between the haunting and the reality. And I couldn't do that. I think that's still a hard thing to kind of cross nowadays.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
Certainly.
I wanted to come closer to understanding what quite the possibilities of that is. So that's really what kind of threw me into the demonology bandwagon, I like to call it. But really, it was also kind of a turning point into getting involved in ministry work too, because that was the true pinnacle of me getting involved as a pastoral assistant at the local Church of Christ, and then becoming eventually ordained. So
Right.
it really opened a lot of perspectives to me, like kind of pathways, because my faith as a youth was, you can call me agnostic or maybe even atheist, because at one point I didn't believe God existed. I loathed God,
It's
right?
like the word of the
That's
night.
our word of the night. Loathed
No.
God. But it really kind of started bleeding in me that, like, not bleeding, but I'm trying to think of the proper word. It really started kind of coming into me that there is a higher power. I don't know what it exactly is. I like to reference it as God, but getting involved with demonology work started opening the pathways and doors of showing me that some sort of phenomenon doesn't exist beyond like the human spirit, and that really made my faith stronger. And like you said, it got me involved in ministry work, which in my youth I would have never really thought. Like, I always had a running joke as a child. When people ask you what you want to do when you grow up, I always said I want to be a priest, right? But it was more a joking matter, because I really wanted to become a police officer. But I said I'd be a priest because, if I was a priest, then I would really honestly know if God existed or not, right? So it was always a running joke that I would become a priest. And it kind of came true in some form.
Yeah.
I never became a priest. Yeah.
We wanted to know the hows and whys, like we do. We want to know, and
No,
everyone
yeah,
else.
exactly. Oh, we have some things on the air in the audience. I'm just going to bring up real quick. Steve says, "Why aren't we hanging out with this guy?"
Well, we can.
I'm sure we will. Absolutely. Steve just got a new Les Paul.
Mm.
Yeah.
Get it from Tom D'Agostino's brother's Rudy shop in Situate.
Oh, yeah. I wonder if he knows that. I haven't been there myself.
Well, now you heard it, Steve.
Joe says, good vibes. Wash hands, stay home, sanitize.
No,
yes,
there you go. That was what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, no tuberculosis.
Yes. Or no COVID.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. That's what he's talking about.
Yeah, I know.
And Reese says, has anything or place scared you? That's a good question.
Yeah, no, definitely had been scared in a sense. I won't lie and say I've never been scared, because when you're dealing with things that you don't believe exist, it startles you, it frightens you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's a form of being scared,
Absolutely.
But a place, not necessarily. More so what I've come across. Like, I never believed demons existed.
Mm-hmm.
Never did.
Yeah.
Until I actually dealt with my first demonic case, where I was brought in by a psychologist. Mind you, I was brought in by a psychologist. So,
right.
And this is really the start of claiming I was a demonologist after working with Carl and then being ordained. I started coming out saying, I'm a demonologist, and people started contacting me, right? And I, of course, sifted through a lot of things, and I never come across something that I would say was demonic. But I was brought into that case, and it really frightened me, because as much as it made my faith stronger, it was still startling to see that you see this on Exorcist from 1973, and you hear about this through Ed Warren's perspective, and Carl's, what he dealt with when he was 19 years old in Providence with that young boy, Lucas.
Yeah, he told us about the show. So
when you hear all these stories, you kind of laugh a little bit, because you're like, okay, I think this is just a bunch of theatrics. This doesn't exist, and I'm a see it to believe it kind of person. I always have been.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I always kind of love science, because science, you can lab, you can prove it. There's articles, and there's an abstract, there's a method, there's results, and then there's a discussion why they came to that.
You can reproduce.
Yeah, and you can reproduce it, and that's why I loved it. I was into biology.
We love it, yeah.
And so I'm a see it to believe it kind of person. And when I first came across that case, when I was brought in, it kind of threw me from left to right of, okay, this is quite possible. So that scared me, that frightened me. As far as the place, like I said, I don't think of anything like, because like I've been to a lot of places that claim to be the worst haunted locations in the world. That there's the portals to hell will claim that there's a portal to hell on there. I would say that the most frightening place though I've been to definitely was the Basilica Axe Murder House in Iowa.
Okay.
I would say in Manila, near Manila.
Mhm.
And I would just say that was definitely a frightening place, like just the activity alone. And I would say another place that's local to here. I'm not saying there's nothing demonic there, but it was frightening in the sense of what was happening. But the S.K. Pierce house in Gardner, Massachusetts, I believe logically I saw somebody being pushed down the stairs. Like they didn't trample down the stairs. They didn't like misplace. After having kind of like a provoking moment, like the person asking me to push me down, because that's been that was a phenomenon that was
It's actually known for that.
Yeah, it's known for that.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden start seeing them go. That was kind of frightening because at this moment I think this person is going to die.
Yeah.
Because that third floor, that third floor stairwell, is no joke, it's narrow too. So, but I would say, those are some cool places that I've been to that had some frightening moments.
No, you kind of touched on what I was going to go with the questioning, anyways, and then that's kind of where you draw the line yourself between, say, an angry spirit and a demon. Like
Right, a negative spirit.
Yeah, angry, whatever, negative, wants to hurt people or whatever, nefarious, and an actual demon. And like, what about a demon? What is the thing about a case this is to you? This is not, an untypical discarnate spirit.
Well, demonic entity won't be nefarious from the get-go. Like a negative spirit is going to be a jackass from the get-go, because that's once they're ass in life, they're an ass in spirit, right? So a demonic entity is not going to come out as malevolent or malignant or nefarious or sinister from the get-go, because their whole play is to kind of masquerade, and deception is the tool. And they want to come into somebody's play where they can find their weakness and start twisting them from the side. If they have a faith, 180ing their faith by demoralizing it and breaking them down. A demonic entity plus as well is not an immortal spirit. I know some people believe that there are multiple conceptions of demons or devils, but like in the ideology of how I talk about the demon, they're not corporeal. They're pure spirit by form. So the way that they present themselves are going to totally be different. Like a human spirit can have an apparitional form, right? And most likely it's going to appear as you or I. But a demonic entity is never going to appear as you and I. There's always going to be something that's off about that apparitional form. And this is where a lot of people tend to, when they're observing this apparition, because sometimes it's short. It's not like they're there for 10 minutes.
No.
Sometimes it could be a few seconds, or gone in the blink of an eye.
Are you saying there's something non-human about its form because it
Yes.
appears non-human?
Yes.
And it's
A finger could be missing, eyes could be black,
just something different about
the deformed, the decrepit, and a lot of people don't really observe this, like, and acknowledge it right away, because when they see somebody, even though it can be scary, their first jump to is this somebody. And a lot of times, the demonic entity is going to try to come off as a family member or something childlike, or an old person, because old people and children, we tend to let our guard down because they're innocent, or we feel the need to help them. So
try to gain their trust.
Gain their trust. So that's what I've seen in demonic cases that are totally different than a negative spirit. Like I said, negative spirit's going to be negative from the get-go, while demonic spirit is going to be at first. And how you get this, especially because a demonologist is not always introduced at the very first moment this is happening, is you get this from questions, you get this from interviews, you get this from kind of dissecting how this started to where it is now, and you start to see, but this is the interaction at first. While what I've seen with negative spirits, the interaction from the get-go was negative. Like they felt already at harm. they felt the fright of flight, and that they didn't feel safe in their home.
Mhm.
While the introduction of demonic spirit, it wasn't. They felt uneasy, but it wasn't like get out now.
Right.
It was
It's
it
actually
was like come here.
It sounds like there's a
Yeah,
trust factor,
yeah.
right? So they're trying to gain the trust of the victim
Yeah.
that they eventually
It's a
will
masquerade.
possess.
Yes.
So they may come across actually maybe perhaps friendly,
Yeah.
even, and something that would be endearing to the
Yeah.
person that is their actual target.
I just wanted to let you know you're scaring the hell out of my cousin right now. My cousin Eric, and he's about to leave. He's a novice.
Well-
Yeah, don't leave us.
Well, you think about it, right? I when you look at evil as human, right? The
Mhm.
concept of evil in the sense of a human, a serial killer, right? Some people say that they're psychotic, but what their heinous acts they perform are evil, right? They take other people's lives, they
Yeah.
rape young children, they target certain sectors of humanity, and one of the things about serial killers, right, is the heinous acts they do. They gain their victims' trust. They're nice.
Hmm.
They're very persuasive,
That's
charismatic, right?
Yes.
And that's what a demonic entity is. They're charismatic. They're persuasive. And once that wall is broken down, boom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we stumbled upon one of those. He named himself Franco and then decided to show himself as something different.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was the most
possibly.
horrifying
We don't know. We should
time of our lives
Yeah.
right there.
listen to it. Our lives kind of went
Yeah.
a little
Oh,
haywire.
haywire, yeah.
Yeah.
It does. It does.
Yeah.
What do you
Yeah,
suppose
there's
the end game is for a demon, a demonic entity? Like if they're
Yeah.
there, I mean, they're going through a lot of trouble, right? So they're
Yeah.
trying to earn the trust of a person. Then they're going to possess that person. I know there's some better terms for this, like infestation
Yeah, of course.
and
Oppression.
different things. Yeah, and
Yeah.
oppression in different stages. What is the end game of that, though? Is it to just
It's an
have
excellent
people
question.
not
That is a great
believe in
question.
God, or is it there's something else there?
So that's the most debatable because even though I have a Christian backdrop, like I was ordained as a deacon in the old Catholic Church, and then I was ordained in the Church of Christ as an ordained minister, and I was a deliverance minister for the Church of Christ. So my background is Christianity, but I'm very eclectic when it comes to other people's beliefs because, there are religions that predate Christianity. Zoroastrianism that kind of brought the major three into play. Hinduism, which is one of the oldest religions still to this day.
That's right. Yeah.
Animism, which was the start of religion, and the foundation of everything is life and everything is energy.
Everything can hold a soul.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
So
That's one.
I think it's hard to kind of swallow the fact that demons in the sense of biblical scripture is fully inherited of what it really is. Like, I'm not saying the biblical scripture is bad because I'm a Christ follower. I believe what Christ did is why I am a
Mhm.
Christian.
Mhm.
Right? Jesus Christ was a real person. That's
Yeah.
historical fact.
Mhm.
To the degree of what and who he was and what actually transpired is still kind of up in the air. But if in fact he didn't have his followers survive because he took his own life basically after being betrayed, I'm cool with that. That's a good person in my book, right? And I follow that, and I believe in a higher power, and I label it as God. But demons haven't just been prevalent in Christianity or Abrahamic religions, right?
Mhm.
They are prevalent in Hinduism, as Azor is.
Right.
Prevalent is in Islamic folklore, which predate normal Islam,
Right.
modern Islam.
5,000,
Absolutely.
6,000 years old. They're thousands of years old.
Mesopotamia,
Mhm.
one of the first structures they found were gargoyle-looking structures, statues, right?
Yeah. So
And
full
this,
of demons and gargoyles and
yes,
aliens.
So
Oh my.
it's been even in troglodytes have some sort of cave paintings of something supernatural and
Yeah.
in depiction, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
So it's been prevalent in human civilization or our ancestors' civilization for a long period of time. I can only imagine if we ever understood like the missing link was and what their observation were. That would be fascinating to me,
Awesome.
right? But
Yeah.
could you imagine?
Yeah. No.
So demons have been in idea of in theotic sense, like good and evil,
Mhm.
have been around for a long time.
Sure,
Even
sure.
though Epicurus really started structuring our modern idea of like good and evil and karma since ancient Greece,
Mhm.
it's always been a kind of an idea.
Right.
And I think that's demons are definitely something that exists. I think if there is good, there has to be evil, and if there is evil, there has to be good, because we see that in our daily life as humans.
Right.
There's
It's
good
balance.
people,
Yeah.
there's good people, and for every good person, there's a bad person.
Yeah.
And that's why we have law enforcement. That's why we have heroes and
Right. Like good and evil are somewhat subjective, but I
It
mean,
is.
there are certain things that most of us agree
Of
on.
course.
And, I can go on all day. Oh, it's
Yeah.
subjective,
Yeah.
but hurt a kid in front of me. And,
Yeah,
that lose my
you're
mind,
not a
so-
good person. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
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 So how you observe it as a demon is really kind of centric on what has been passed down for 5,000 and 6,000
Sure.
years through text or through people that have passed knowledges down. Like Father Gabriel North, prime example, somebody that did over 100,000 exorcisms, and he was the chief exorcist of the Roman Catholic Church. He was a smart man. Yeah, he was a little one way because of his thought pattern.
Mhm.
But he worked with psychologists. He worked like Father Chad Ripperger, who was an exorcist of the Roman Catholic Church, is a PhD in psychology. These are people that apply different sciences,
Mhm.
but still come across these things.
Right.
How can you throw that out? And people have been observing this kind of phenomenon for a long time. Yes, maybe you misconstrued it back in the day, like schizophrenia, prime example, right? I was just doing a paper because I'm a psychology student, and one of the topics right now I'm on, one of the classes, abnormal psychology. Great with what we're involved in talking about right now. Schizophrenia is an abnormal psychology piece of the DSM of a disorder. And one of the things that schizophrenic people have are they hear voices, they see shadows, they see monsters. There's multiple voices sometimes. That one saying that you're not good enough, you should kill yourself. Another one's telling you something different, and that's beyond dissociative identity disorder. So there have been moments in time where we misconstrued it or misunderstood what was actually going on in the mental health realm.
Right.
But that doesn't take away from that. Somebody like Hippocrates, which is the father of medicine, and he had the Hippocratic, I forget the name of his book, that was pretty big, but basically started realizing mental health and anxiety was a thing.
Right.
But still, they would realize that, okay, even though anxiety and these other certain things are a thing, that doesn't detract that there are still preternatural occurrences that occur, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what's interesting, especially with demons, because
Can be
demons
unexplainable to a group of people rather than just one person's, experience.
and a demon body, and I'm not to go on a tangent too longer, but a demon, we got to really understand, isn't just from the Christian theology either, because you got to remember, every demonized deity in what we call demons in like religious demonology, which is connected to like Christianity or Catholicism, they were gods of other religions.
They were gods, exactly. I was going to use the phrase, one man's demons is another man's gods.
God, right.
So,
Right, sure. Some of them
They've been
were,
passed down.
you'll even keep the names,
go back to Mexican. Pazuzu was the god of pestilence. And he became famous because of the Exorcist, and that's who Reagan talked to.
Right.
But still, these are things that modern demonologists or people in the Catholic Church look at and say, oh, they're a demon. They're trying to persuade you away from this one higher power and trying to get you to this other way.
It seems like a tough road, though. Like, I would have to think the end game is something bigger than just changing someone's belief system. And what one person or family would care about. Like, you would think, if they're going to go through all that trouble.
Well, I think that was the main question I kind of got away from, is the end game is, I think, really kind of one of the things that, if you remember what I said about demons, they're not comparable, right? And one of the things that I would say that maybe has some sort of authenticity to it, not fact, is that demons, if they do exist in the way we think of them as non-corporeal, I think have some sort of the same that they were never physical. And I think that is their method, that if there is a God in the monotheistic aspect, there's one God, right? And besides the polytheistic viewpoints of multiple gods, is that if one God did create all life, then these deities or entities are against us because we are able to enjoy the beauties of life in a physical sense and still become a soul afterwards and spirit, right? While they just did that disdain for us is their power to say, well, I can still take you over. I can break you down. I can take over your body, push you out. And I think that's their end game. Like everybody says, well, it's for the individual, the demoniac, which is the person that's under influence, to kill themselves. But a demon, why would the demon go through so much to have that person kill himself?
It's a lot of trouble.
You know,
Yeah.
It's a lot of trouble for
It's
such
a
an
lot
easy
of work.
conclusion.
Right.
To just end there, but maybe you're right in that they want the sense of like being in a
Freedom.
a body, a human body, what that feels like, and there's probably some good to this three-dimensional universe we live in that is different than the experience
And
that they have.
I know you're not so political, so I won't stay on too much. But look at in human civilization, look at how centric freedom is to us.
Right.
Can you imagine if it's so apparent and so needed for us to want that freedom? We talk about free will. Can you imagine what they want? You know?
Yeah, we don't know what it's really like for them.
Right.
You know, it's hard to say.
Yeah.
Let's we'll go back to our audience because I know there's a lot of comments up here.
Yeah, of course.
Courtney Peterson says, "Hi everyone, thanks for joining." Hey Courtney, how you doing
Hey,
tonight?
Courtney.
I hate to cut out for a second.
Hey.
Anybody want a drink?
Thank you.
Let me-
You want to know?
Sure. I am drinking. I should promote this.
This is Dale. This is my other cousin.
Hey,
Dale. Hey,
Hey,
Dale.
fellas.
I am drinking something here.
Interesting.
Seagram's. I don't know. It's a spritzer thing, and I think
It's a spritzer.
I'm gonna be wearing a bra before the end of the show because I'm drinking these things.
I get a Diet Coke.
Venus says, "Can an angry spirit cause a nasty smell like rotting flesh?"
Yes, and
Well, we believe so, and we're going to ask James that question. Thank you. Much appreciated. So, so Nina Ferrari, if I'm saying that correctly. Sorry, Nina. Can an angry spirit cause a nasty smell like rotting flesh?
So what I've come to see that demonic tend to, and that's not a nasty spirit, angry spirit. And in a sense, it is angry for a reason. I feel like the demonic tend to emit a sort of like sulfuric, rotten flesh smell. Odor. While angry spirit might give off the smell of what it smelled like, maybe a certain perfume or what do we use as men? Cologne, sorry.
Flowers.
So I think it's going to be centric to what that spirit maybe was entangled in an odor for themselves. I've never seen like an angry spirit never give maybe as like a theatrical tool because
prank
as a prank.
Yeah, as a trick.
Rotting flesh. I mean, that could be a lot of things too. It could be a mouse on the wall. Right?
Yeah, definitely for sure.
Oh yeah.
Which I've come across as more than anything. Like they're I've asked if they have an exterminator or pest control come, and usually some people listen to that advice and they have it, and they find out they have a mice infestation instead of a demonic infestation.
Right.
So it's really correct. You don't realize how easily an outside influence can come entangled with your property. Oh, I have a mice infestation in this house. I keep killing them damn suckers. I'm sorry for
That's why we have cats.
I'm sorry for you animal lovers, but I'm killing those damn mice. But
just gonna stand on my chair a sec. Okay. No, I'm kidding. I'd make friends with it.
No, we have mice in all our homes.
Sorry.
Well, I don't like how it keeps pooping my food.
No,
They're seasonal.
James.
They're seasonal. They come in the winter and that kind of stuff.
Well, not if they make a home.
They're still here.
They're still here.
It's the summer. They should be.
They stay here.
They should go be ratatouille somewhere else. They should be going make pasta somewhere.
Tell that cat to get to work.
Yeah, that cat's lazy, man.
Get to work, buddy. Eric says, "Oh, got that right. I'm not leaving yet."
Yeah, it's not. That's what he's talking about. Then.
Greg Koss, hey buddy.
Hey, Greg.
Kristen,
I like
Chris, and James. What's going on? That garlic looked a little strong. Greg did a garlic, I guess once a year. Greg is definitely not a vampire, so let me just start with that.
Yeah.
He grows garlic, and he'll eat a bowl from his garden and just eat it raw.
Yeah,
it's good for you, but it's really hot.
It's supposed to be like good for anti-inflammatory.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
I think it was this afternoon. He had a garlic that looked like it was
Yeah, I
set
hope you're
on fire.
enjoying yourself too as
Debbie
well.
Wallace Hagen, hello, how you doing?
Hi,
Steve
Debbie.
says, do you think every group ritual has real responses? Can collective thought have some unknown intelligence?
Yeah.
That's
So
a
a
good
group
question.
ritual has
What's energy?
what sense of a group ritual like?
Group
Like
ritual could be,
demonic.
I would think, anything from a group of satanic cult
To probably little
to
girls
going to
having
church.
A slumber party. There you go.
To
Okay, because that's really
Right.
open ended. Like I don't know which
Yeah.
way to go on that.
putting their fingers under a person. You know what is it? Stiff as a board.
Yeah.
You ever
Light
play
as
that
a
with
feather.
light as a feather, stiff as a board?
Yeah.
It really works.
Yeah.
It was crazy. I remember lifting.
Yeah.
Kid, I was like, wow, we
You
did
know,
it like. pinky
No, I
or
had like Bloody Mary, prime example.
Oh yeah, no, this is like a thing.
something.
Collective thought.
Yeah.
Right.
So group ritual has real response. I think it can. I think that anytime you have, actually, a great example of this group ritual is a great show called Evil. Right.
Okay.
Oh, we love
Yeah,
that
you
show.
should.
I knew you'd watch that. Yeah.
And first season of it had girls at the school,
Mhm.
and this was this phenomenon on I think that it was YouTube or some sort of social media where this person put a hidden signal in there that only children could receive, right?
Yeah.
And it was a song, and it would put them in like this trance-like state.
Yeah.
And basically, what had happened is it started making these girls kind of like crazy, right? Because they started singing and out of nowhere.
You didn't want to put a pencil in a wire
Yeah.
something in here. I don't know what it is, but yeah.
So I think in a group ritual can have response in that sense, like, or even if it is paranormal, right? If you're all around a table and performing a seance
Mhm.
at a haunted location, and you're all summoning or the person that is leading the seance,
Mhm.
and you're all on the same page, and you're beckoning
Mhm.
that spirit to come, that can create a real response. Another example, and where collective thought has some unknown intelligence, is if you have a bunch of scientists come into a lab and create an identity and a backstory named Philip. And
Yes.
they create this consciousness, and this consciousness actually answers to it, and then eventually shows that it does
That's a
exist.
true story.
And
Yeah.
when
Philip
you
the
say,
ghost.
and when they say Philip, you don't exist anymore, and it disappears, and then they say we're joking, and it actually starts to appear again, right? That shows you that a group ritual or some sort of group collaboration can have real responses. And as a collective thought, one of the things is that I was actually just talking about this. Dr. Christopher was over at my house last night to come check up on me and come meet Dawson like you guys did.
Nice.
And then we also had a show, right? Don DeCristofaro is he leads the USS Salem, the paranormal aspect of it. A great guy. And, I'll announce it here tonight. I know we'll talk about coming events, but we talked about world's largest ghost hunt, right? We
Yes,
actually did that together
did that.
at Wilson Castle together, right?
That's right. Yeah.
And one of the things their first initiative was that for if you're investigating all the way in California and I'm investigating on the East Coast from Rhode Island or Vermont, what are the variables if I'm investigating this same time, even though, of course, it's going to be 3 o'clock there or 6 o'clock here, but we're investigating at the same time from there to there. What is that collective consciousness ability of what do I get something here, you get something at the same time? Does that part of the structure of the environment, time, and all this have a play? And that's why World's Largest Ghost Hunt was first initialized, because it was some sort of experimental collaboration to it, right?
Yeah, they had them in Ireland too. So that's a good question though. Would that happen?
Yeah.
Well, I think they've said that, like Brian Kano was a big component on that. I think it did. And I think that's why they continue doing it, not because just beyond the stick of it. It's cool, I guess, to have a bunch of people in the same day get together and do the same darn thing, right?
Right.
But why I find it interesting is because of that. If I'm investigating there, if I'm on the USS Salem, which I'm going to be for World's Largest Ghost Hunt, that's my announcement. I'll be one of the guest investigators at the World's Largest Ghost Hunt at the USS Salem.
Awesome.
USS Salem.
If I'm at the USS Salem and somebody's at the USS Lexington, are we going to get the same kind of responses because they're both Navy ships and they're
Could you
both said to
possibly
be
talk
haunted?
to the same spirits?
Yeah.
Now we do a show, and in fact, Greg Koss, who hosts the show, it's called Metaphysical Crossings, and we're in a rotation where we we all do like an Estes method, or I even did the Gansfield thing with the ping pong balls. And we're trying to talk to more or less see if we talk to the same spirits or similar spirits.
Yes.
And we've gotten some really interesting results.
Yeah.
And we'll plug ourselves there because we're going to be back on that on August 10th. So
Not only that, we actually had that happen at one time.
Yeah.
It's somebody in Canada.
that's right. Talking
Right?
on the phone
On Skype.
or Skype. We're
We were on
Skyping.
Skype.
And we got similar responses from someone
We
in
had this-
Florida.
Yeah,
We were
Okay.
was friend Seraphine.
in
Some of
Florida.
you guys have seen on here.
Yeah.
Laura Lee is in Canada, and we were in Shrewsbury. That was living in Shrewsbury,
Massachusetts.
Massachusetts,
So
and we were
yeah.
using different devices but getting the same responses,
And the same questions.
same questions,
Yeah.
like the same name.
It was so
you know, that
weird.
kind of stuff.
It was
It was
so weird.
strange as hell. So I think
Yeah.
there's definitely some
Yeah,
truth to
Most
that.
definitely.
And things can also live like in the collective unconscious. Like
Yeah.
you mentioned, Philip the ghost.
Yeah.
He seemed to have a life just by people believing in him. So great question, Steve. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Steve.
You can expand upon that so much too, you know? That's a big question.
There we go. Adriana says hello. Greg, how's James doing after his surgery?
Mhm.
Healing prayers. Well, he's here.
Yeah, it wasn't
Yeah.
necessarily surgery. I think everybody, when they said a heart procedure, they think of like I was gonna have open heart surgery. So what they really did, and I wish I could show you because I had nice big bruises and I'm still not able to lift anything over 5 pounds, is they basically stuck 4 catheters in my groin, which is fun in itself, right? Not fun. And they sent little tubes, maybe like a little bit bigger than fiber optic
Some
tubes.
people pay good money for that.
And they sent tubes up my vein all the way up to my heart to different parts of the different components, like different compartments of the heart. And I could feel it. You're awake behind you from this whole thing.
Yeah.
And basically, they're able to control your heart, speed it up, kind of put you in a state of arrhythmia. And so it wasn't fun. And I'm still a little sore. I kind of walk like the penguin a little bit. And, it went well. I, of course, got bad news that I have AFib, which is like common, but still, it's not something you want to hear because I'm on medicine the rest of my life now. And, but you know what? They found out what it was. And I'm here with Chris and Kristen, and I cannot complain. Great company. And I'm alive, and I get to see my boys, and that's all that matters.
Excellent.
So I appreciate it, Greg.
We're glad you're here.
Yes.
And it went as smoothly as it could, And
I sucked. I definitely don't want to do it again, though.
No.
yeah,
It's not a great feeling.
Not something you want to do every day. For sure. Kate Walker says, if you're the only one that smells it, it can be a sinus infection.
True.
Happened to me once.
True.
That's right. And
Yeah.
people also talk about, we mentioned the dreaded C word, the COVID,
Yeah.
earlier about their smells changing. And my stepdaughter, and I think I told you, Sashlyn, has it now. And she lives in Florida, and she was posting on Facebook about how everything smells like vinegar
Yeah.
to her, like ketchup and things that might contain a little vinegar. It's like
Interesting.
wicked strong, and
Oh.
just see, that's all. It's making her sick.
Yeah, that's a good. You gotta eliminate before you jump to anything paranormal, preternatural, supernatural. You always gotta eliminate the natural first, and that's something I do as a demonologist. Everybody wants to call me in and wants me to conclude that it's demonic or paranormal like that with the snap of a finger.
Yeah.
And you always gotta eliminate the natural. If somebody's having trouble sleeping, you know what you do, especially at this children, you get to have the sleep study. You get a sleep study done. You see they have sleep apnea.
Yeah.
Things that can be eliminated
Mhm.
before you start jumping the ghosts. Because guess what? Most of the time it's not.
Right.
Ghosts do exist. The 3 of us have experienced it. And we have all
Absolutely.
experienced different kind of phenomena. Hell, I believe I experienced a cryptid. I believe I've experienced ufology-based things where I've gotten MUFON involved. But those are things that were jumped to after all the other things were checked off.
Right.
Because you would never jump to the unknown or the abnormal unless you're normally normal, right?
Right.
And that's what's important. So yes, it could be a sinus infection.
Which right.
Can it be that you're under distress?
Mhm.
Can you have depression? Could you have OCD? Could you have a phobia? Could you have panic attacks? Could you have maybe even schizophrenia? or some
A
other form,
psychotic episode.
a psychotic episode, bipolar 1 or 2.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
That's
so
what I
many-
was gonna say. Yeah.
Physiological issue.
Mhm.
You know, you can have COPD and have trouble breathing, and that trouble breathing can make you hallucinate because of a lack of oxygen.
To your brain. Yeah.
There's so many things that you have to check
It's going
off,
to be a combination of
Yes.
things.
Yeah.
It's a-
and it
Yeah.
could be the paranormal with those things.
That's
But-
right.
Right.
But you
And it
have
just
to,
seems more blown up to you at that time.
but you have to help the natural before you help
Right.
the supernatural.
Being investigators, that's what we do as well.
Yeah,
you know?
not everything's a ghost, but
No.
when we talked about how you draw a distinction between a demonic or preternatural haunting and one that is just like an angry spirit or disgruntled spirit.
Yeah.
But how often have you come across demonic hauntings? A lot of people throw the D word around all the time, and it's
I
you
love
know,
the
and you say, yeah, probably not.
I'm just kidding.
Don't-
What's it called? So, if I wish I had I hate getting a statistic value, but I love statistics, right?
Mm.
So, if I had to say, I'd probably be at 500 cases in 16 years. And a lot of them are in the cabinet file that is sitting behind Kristen.
Mhm.
You know, it's a mess right now. But I'd have to say that I've only come across 5 cases that I could unequivocally say that were demonic. 2 of them were possession. Oh, sorry, 3 of them were possession. 2 of them was infestation. One infestation was on the borderline of oppression. So 5 cases in 16 years.
Wow.
Well, out of like 500,
But
you know, it's like 1 in 100.
But somebody also, too, honestly, though, somebody might be another demonologist, like Keith Johnson, who thinks all spirits are demonic, right? And somebody might look at my cases different, or if they walk through my shoes in those scenarios, they might kind of formulate it differently. They might say this is the variables that were at play, and they might say it was demonic. But
It was not for some reason.
But for me, it wasn't.
So a lot of it is kind of interpretation.
It is.
But I think it is safe to say that they're not common.
Mm-mm.
They're certainly not common.
No.
I'll go back to some more of our questions. We should put a few of them up here.
Yeah.
And I'm getting we're going off the page here. I'm going to keep scrolling. How are you doing, James? Annitto James, as Rihanna says. Well, we
Sounds like Bond, James Bond.
Yeah.
Doing good, thank you.
Nina says, my attorney smells it in his office. I smell it faintly since he shampooed and thoroughly cleaned his office. You get temple pressure, nausea, and some have felt like they were going to have diarrhea.
Mold.
That's another D word. Yeah, probably.
It could be natural causes there.
That's a D word that I don't want to deal with.
Diarrhea.
Yeah.
Yeah, molds and try.
There are different things, especially if
Yeah.
you clean the rugs, it might have brought something up that wasn't
mold in
really
the wall with a
was
small
kinda
leak. Don't even know.
sitting
Yeah.
You never know.
like a sleeping eagle in the rug.
Hi, Linda.
Linda Judd says, hi, friends. Sorry to be late.
CO2 can do that
Sound wouldn't
too.
work, but
Oh,
I can
that's
hear
true.
you
Yeah,
now.
cover
Great.
my-
Well, glad we're coming through,
Diets.
you guys. Hope you can hear us clearly. We're kind of sharing an open mic here, so
Yes.
hopefully that's working for everyone and you
James
can
is
hear
us.
us all.
James is
We just had a fantastic dinner. Thank you again, James.
Yes, thank you.
It was awesome. Greg says, heading to North Wisconsin in the morning, muskie fishing. Back in the week tomorrow.
Ooh, nice.
Get the
Good.
muskies. Get the muskies, brother.
I'm glad you're having a good vacation.
Hey, guys, what have I missed? Hi, Chris and Kristen. Hey, Linda.
Linda.
Hi, John.
Oh, Joshua did
Oh.
some.
Nice to meet
Nice
you,
to meet
Linda.
Nice to meet you,
There you
James
go.
Annitto. And I apologize, I don't have my glasses on, so I got to bring up the comments to
Yeah,
read
no,
them.
either.
Guess I can't see shit anymore. Paula says, I was just getting ready to ask about James, so that's great to hear. Steve says, ritual in terms of group trance.
So I kind of hit that, yeah.
Yeah, I think we got that.
Yeah.
Definitely power in numbers, I would say. Paul says, we get to meet you at the Paracon in October. James, do you need to be sure you're not sick?
Which Paracon?
No, Paracon.
I have a few of them.
Yeah, which ones are at Mass? We're going. I don't know.
Well, let us know in the
Yeah.
chat. Group collaboration is a better term. So
Yep.
Steve,
I think we're a little
based
behind.
on know
Yeah.
thyself.
Yeah, well,
This
it's a
is
lot of
Linda.
People.
Jamie Lynn Kaler says, Greg Cosby, safe travels. Yes, and get the fish. Sorry for the double post. Well, I will probably double post it up here. And here is our friend Nathaniel.
There he is.
What's up?
What's up?
What's up?
Like
Another great
Like the-
demonologist.
Yes.
There
Good
we
friend
go.
of ours.
the old
Food
Bud
connoisseur.
Right?
Oh yes, most definitely.
Yeah, definitely a
He
connoisseur.
comes up to
food.
he lives in Ohio. Comes up to Rhode Island just to have the food.
Yes.
I mean,
Oh, and
At
of
least
course
4
see
times a
us. And of course
And
see us.
see us.
Yes. If you can fit it in, there's a lot of good food up here. in Rhode Island.
Yes.
It is a small state, but
Just
it
make sure you don't ask him why he's not visiting you.
Oh
is.
God. Stop.
Cecil serve. Soleil.
That's okay, buddy.
Love you guys.
Love
you too.
Love you
Too.
back. Hey, James. All right. So there we go. I think
Oh, good
we've
Lord.
covered our questions
Right.
Yes.
for now. So actually, that brings us to the Dominion Ministries,
Yes.
which you were
What's that?
Just kidding.
nice enough to invite us to, and
Yes.
we're grateful for that, and we appreciate it. And it seems like a really big network of people. And how did this come together? And tell us about it in general. Let our audience know.
So yeah, no. So I was doing lots of drugs one day, and I just thought that I was just kidding, guys. Well,
One day.
one day. But no, seriously. So the Dominion Ministry was founded in 2015 by myself and a group of people that I had brought on, known as board members, and they had the same common idea of let's bring a bunch of eclectic people together, regardless of what faith or
It's a board
background.
as in like wooden board, right?
No, like
Not
like a chair, like
They're not just
board members.
actually board.
No, they're not like a Wilson from Castaway. Wilson. So
And we're not doing drugs at all.
no, maybe I put something in that seafood Alfredo.
Is that
but
what it was?
I don't know. But so basically, I got a few members of people.
Oh yeah.
A few people that had the same common interest of having a mass amount of people in the paranormal come together, work together, regardless of what faith or what background you came from, and going into people's houses and giving them the best help we could give, and multiple perspectives as well. My perspective might be good, but their perspective might be better. And it was kind of get as many people in the same boat to row that boat as you can together.
Right.
So in 2015, we started that. It was the Dominion Ministry, and I ran it all the way till 2017. At one point in its heyday, we were at 42 different states in the country,
Wow.
with international members and affiliates.
Nice.
And we were doing our best to help anybody we can. There was protocols and procedures, case files, waivers, and questionnaires,
Yeah.
as you guys probably
Documents.
document, which you guys were just a part of in the South Yarmouth case. That was
But it has to be though.
for sure.
You did a good job.
And you worked with Shannon Noli,
That's
who's,
right.
who's the case manager, and Russ Diver, who's the lead investigator of the New England Division.
Mhm.
And but basically, 2015, 2017, it was this large organization that got to come to be. And in 2017, I stepped away because I then was approached to join seminary for the Old Catholic Church, which, kind of selfishly I took because I felt it was something I needed because I'm somebody about credentials. Like, I have a business degree, soon to have a psychology degree, but I always wanted my theology degree. And even though I was an ordained minister with the Church of Christ, it was just more so a paper saying that, okay, well, you were into the Church of Christ.
Mhm.
But Catholicism is, for many people, the bread and butter when it comes to dealing with this kind of situation in
Go to
Western
seminary
culture.
school.
Right.
And so I went back to school because I wanted credentials. And so I stepped away. The Dominion Ministry had existed. They kind of rebranded as the Outreach Network. But because of, I'm not saying lack of leadership, but because of things in life in general, started to diminish with the leadership that I left it to be at. And as great as they did this by keeping the name and keeping the mission, it just fell at wayside. And that has a lot to do with a lot of different variables. But for many, many years, it's like my child, right?
It's your baby.
It's my baby.
When-
And it's my third
It's got
one.
kids everywhere.
It's my third one.
Third.
So
Kidding.
I was running a recent group, Demonology, and I for the past few years, because Demonology was founded in 2019,
Mhm.
and from 2019, and even when I was in seminary, I just kept thinking of the Dominion ministry. Where could it have it gotten? Where could it have? Where would have it went? Would it have been a 503c? We were LLC for liability reasons and for insurance reasons,
Right.
but I wanted to go nonprofit eventually. Where would it have been as in a 503c? Where would our expansion be at this point? So it was always something that reveled in my head. Like that was always like, okay, why did you do this?
Lingering question: what could have been?
Yeah, what could have been? So Demonology was originally set out for its intent to legitimize demonology,
Right.
but I feel like we kind of got our mission out there, what demonology is, and the misconceptions out there. But it never felt the same to what the ministry was. It was about helping people, and demonology wasn't. It was about helping people, but it was more so about helping demonology. And it wasn't necessarily the foundation that I have always envisioned with myself and what I want to do with my life. So in 2022, I contacted Nina Brown and Leach Around Brown. They're not related at all. And they were the last two board members to be existing that still were kind of maintaining ministry in its name.
Okay.
And I reached out to them and said, I want to come back. I want to take back over. And they said, thank God. And not be egocentric, but they basically were like so happy that I came back because I have a drive to me. I have tenacity. I'm entrepreneurial. I also am I'm an inventor. Like I like to invent new ways of doing things, and I just have a drive.
Yeah, definitely like a busy guy.
I'm a busy guy.
Yeah.
And so I asked them for me to be handed over the rights of the ministry again. Of course, the 42 states dwindled, and there was only a handful of people still left, and I think now we're at like 20 different states already, and back in about 2 months of revitalizing it. Because
multiple countries.
Canada, Ireland, and the United States. And when I brought it back and announced that it was coming back, people remembered it because
that's awesome.
people knew. And there's difficulties of running an organization like that.
Absolutely.
People are going to have their different thought patterns of way of handling things, and there's going to be tiffies sometimes that occur. But the thing is, though, is it's really about putting the ego out the door. It's really coming in and working with companionship, a synergy between the components of people, and basically realizing that it's not about the data. As much as it is important to collect the data to understand what the dynamics of the case is, but the forefront of, regardless of what data you receive, if it is mental health, or if it is paranormal, or if they're just alone and they just need company, we're there to help that person. If it's mental health, we'll employ them to reach out to a therapist or psychotherapist, psychiatrist. We even have a psychotherapist that's a professor at the University of Maine, Sarah Jane. She's awesome. That can give advice or direct somebody to that person to speak to. If they're alone, we can give them that companionship. As much as it sucks for them to waste their time on paranormal things, we can at least put them at ease, saying you're safe, and if you ever need to talk to somebody, we're here to talk to you.
Sure.
Now, if it's paranormal, there is of course a larger onion to peel back on that, because how do you solve a paranormal issue when we're not the Ghostbusters, we're not proton packs, But
They don't actually sell that at Ghost Stop yet.
Chris made one.
But we can give advice, we can give context of what experiences we dealt with, and how we can continue to help, continue to guide, or how you can help yourself in this situation. And that's what the ministry is about. It's about taking, regardless of what faith you are, and I'll reiterate, like I'd beat a dead horse so people can understand. It's about taking whatever faith you are, whatever personality, as long as you're not doing bad things, and not charging people is what's important to me. Is going into these people's houses and giving them comfort, and that's what the ministry is. And it's helped a lot of people. I know there's a lot of new people like you guys, part of our organization of recently, but back in our heyday, even though it was 2 years, we helped so many darn people. We also we are also an organization that does a lot of events. We raise money for a lot of charities, and I help, and not just me, but the organization help raise a lot of money for charitable organizations. I've donated thousands of dollars out of my own pocket for events, sponsored events, and that's something that the ministry will eventually do itself again. But it's all encompassing of what we do, because I want to help people. And I want the people that are a part of the ministry, because the ministry wouldn't exist if it wasn't for the members. It could just be me, but then I'm just James Annitto. I could do my due diligence of what I've done in the past, but the ministry is a train, it's a boat, it's a ship, however you want to look at it. It takes multiple parts for that kind of system to work.
Absolutely.
And I think it will get to the levels that I've envisioned, and for other people have envisioned, but it's a key tool to make sure that the right person gets into somebody's house, because I've seen clients waste tens, 20, 30.
Oh,
I've even seen a client waste $50,000 to see medicine workers and cutting ties of these unseen cords, people say.
Yeah.
And to me, it's astonishing and absurd, and it's unethical.
We agree.
People will take your money.
They will.
Absolutely. So yeah,
And
it's
if
wonderful
you-
that there's a network, like a web,
Yeah.
Spread out over these large areas, and
Yeah.
hopefully getting larger all the time, where people can reach out to and get a quality person at no cost to come out, and at least give you some idea of what's going on.
Mhm.
Now, what's the best way for people to reach the Dominion Ministries?
So right now we have Facebook, the Dominion Ministry, DOMINION, I think. I can totally
You're right.
picture that up. But
Dominion, as you imagine, is spelled.
yeah,
Ministries.
and then ministry, not ministries, ministry.
It's ministry.
And it's all right. People say ministries, it's fine. And we also have a website, but right now it's only a flash page. But it's the dominionministry.org or .com. And then also, too, to make it easy, I took my old URL, demonology.org, and then also demonology.org, and then also will revert you to the Dominion Ministry website. That's not active right now because of all the things that I've been dealing with health-wise, having a new child. I haven't been able to develop the website, but that will become. But yeah, jamesannitto.com as well will also have a way to lead you to the Dominion Ministry website, and also to my Facebook, which then will lead you also to the Dominion Ministry Facebook. There's many different ways. And of course, Dark Horse Paranormal, Bigfoot and the Bunny, and their other pages can also direct you to probably.
Absolutely. You can reach out to us and we'll send you right there. I know there's phone number, emails attached, and all of that. So,
yes.
Feel free to message any of us for more information.
I think all of us that went to the investigation with Chris and I got together and worked really well.
Yes, and that's what's important. Yes, and
Right.
I heard nothing but great things about that night.
Yeah, it was really good.
Between the companionship you guys had,
Yes.
the investigative techniques that you guys all brought forth, and that's something that's what's powerful, because it's about, like I said, putting out the ego.
Absolutely.
And just working for a common cause. And what's too is not to harp back on the ministry is, we all have different backgrounds.
Right.
So you might have a different perspective of looking at it than I do. And even though I have all this experience and you do too, you might be hitting it the right way. And I'm close, but you're hitting it. And listening to you is what will solve that situation. And having all those different backgrounds and perspectives.
Yeah, everybody's different input into the thing.
Yeah,
so because everybody gets kind of different impressions. So we were almost all on the same page with everything.
I think
And Shannon and Russ were wonderful to work with.
They did, yes.
That was awesome.
And they were very happy. I know they texted Shannon the next day, thanking for your involvement. And we're very shocked that you guys didn't charge. That's one of the things that
I did not know that.
Wow.
They said.
So there you go.
Yeah, they were shocked that you guys did not charge.
interesting.
No, we had fun though. We made a day of it.
Yeah.
We went to a couple different
Stores
cemeteries. Went to
and
a
stores too.
Quaker
It's weird.
cemetery because we're kind of into the Quakers.
Yes.
Their history is very interesting. Before the case, because went down to the Cape and it's nice.
The Cape's awesome.
And an Indian memorial site as well. It was super cool. Let's see. Jamie Lynn says, "Hey, I want a greeting like Nathaniel's. What's up?
What's up?
Kayla, what's up? What's up, Kayla?"
That's great.
Okay, I gotta go through. Sorry, Steve says all these things pale compared to living with my ex-wife.
Yeah.
Sounds like
What's up?
you were a little haunted as well.
Yeah.
All right. Linda says learning how to ask questions is a good thing to learn. From learning how to dig for information and get confirmation of information that you have. Absolutely. There's a lot of skill in asking questions.
Yes.
For sure.
Oh,
Asking
yes.
clients questions and that sort of thing. Jamie says, doing good. Can't wait to see you back on our lives.
Oh, that's what Greg. Yeah.
That's what. Yep. Well, fantastic. And what's coming up? What is next for James Annitto? I know you mentioned something about we got some events coming up, so maybe we'll cover those quickly. But I do want to get into one thing you mentioned to us, that being Romania.
Yes, please.
Romania.
Yes.
Romania.
Talk about vampires. The Strigoi.
Yeah. I didn't need that.
And you think about it, was this one of the inspirations from Bram Stoker to write Dracula, Vlad Tepes.
That's right.
Right? So yeah, Romania. So let me pull out the handy dandy tab. I feel like I'm on Blue's Clues right now. What's it called?
Tell you as kids, right?
Yeah.
Blue's Clues when I was a young kid. So November.
It's not still on.
It is still on. Yes, I think there's an Asian Steve now. I'm not saying anything bad. I'm just saying that's how.
Yeah, we're an international show. I'm not on there.
6th to the 17th of November. 6th to the 17th of November.
Yes.
Patty Negri, Father Sebastian, who's also the leading vampire impersonato of the vampire culture, and myself, the one, the only demonologist, James Annitto, are the ambassadors for a trip for Romania. We are going to Hotel Transylvania, Brahms Castle. We're also going to Vlad Tepes' fortress. And you know what that week is? Not only is it a week of Romania, it's also, would you actually believe that Bram Stoker and Vlad Tepes had the same birthday?
No. I did
not know that.
They did.
Wow.
And one of the days we will be there will be their birthday. We're in Romania.
Nice. What do they do in Romania for their birthday?
I don't know.
I know something like the.
Well, Vlad Tepes is a national hero there.
Yeah.
He's not as we look at him in the Western culture as a villainous serial killer. I mean, he really defended their country. He saved their country, right?
Yeah,
he's on poster stamps there.
Yeah.
Heads on spikes for a reason.
Yeah, he scared. I think it was the Ottoman Empire.
Ottoman.
I think it was the Ottoman, right? So he scared. Or there's still the Turks.
Yeah.
At one point and later on in the future, but he scared them away, and of course defended his country.
Right.
Yes, he did some heinous things to people that disagreed with him, but Romania.
Who doesn't?
Romania respects him and they love him.
They have statues, big statues of him.
But not only do they have Vlad Tepes, which is of course iconic in itself because one of the inspirations for Bram Stoker's Dracula, they also have the Legends of the Strigoi, which is one of the oldest legends of vampire belief in our culture, in civilization, in the humanities.
Mm-hmm.
The Strigoi, still in Romania, are still believed to exist.
Yes, they are.
Not only are the Strigoi a big thing, they also have the gypsy culture, which dabble in different rituals and arts, and also steal your wallet and maybe kill you.
Yeah, well,
but they also
stereotype is, yes.
They're pretty dangerous.
Do they drive? They still drive like the covered wagons
Well,
down the country roads or Romania?
No, that's stereotypical.
Do they?
But I don't know. I'll tell you. I'll take pictures for you. And one of the other big things too is one of the places that I've always wanted to go was Akanakawa
I can
Forest.
never pronounce it, and that's where I want to go.
But in Japan, the Suicide Forest, but Romania actually has a rivaling Suicide Forest. And I don't know the name off of the top of my head, but they have a Suicide Forest that rivals the Japanese Suicide Forest,
that's the place
which I really, really look forward to seeing as well, because to me, that's a place of trauma. People taking their lives there, right?
It's a sad feeling.
Not
in
only
the
that,
forest,
there's wars and things and
So much
going on.
thing.
Oh,
And on top of it, we're only going to be a country away from a current war in Ukraine. Moldova splits Ukraine and Romania.
Okay.
So not only will I be in a country that has been through a lot of turmoil and has seen a lot of different things and a lot of different folklores, there's a current war north of the country. And I'm assuming it will still be happening in November.
Yeah.
And if it's not,
I don't think we're taking down the little flag here. That's
No,
part
not
of our
for a while.
screen.
oh, hey, look at that. See, I didn't even see that. But still, I bet the echoes of that war
yeah,
is permeating within the grounds, and the people that have lost, there's been a lot of people that have lost their lives.
the energy
Absolutely.
and
Yes.
vibrations and stuff.
So I believe it's going to be off the hook. And I don't say that in a bad context. I feel bad for people that lost their lives.
Yeah.
War is undistinguishable, and something I wish humanity can one day cross the bridge and we can rather hug, or we can go back to the days of one-on-one fighting to solve something. Back in the day of leader versus leader or warrior versus warrior, and everything's over with.
Sure.
But I think just going to Romania is a bucket list item for everybody.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely. And I understand it's very haunted. The history, of course, is amazing, and the architecture you're going to see and the
Yeah.
art itself is going to be fantastic.
Carpathian.
I think you mentioned there are still tickets available for this thing.
Correct,
Yes.
there is.
And how do people find it? How can they become part of it if they want
Mystery. It's Maria Schmidt's thingamajiggy. Let me see. I'll look it up
to? Take
right
your time.
Yeah.
Mysterious. Oh, so Mysterious Adventures Tours on Facebook. If you go to Mysterious Adventures Tours on Facebook, then you will be led to the page that will allow you to see the Romania tour. You can also go to mysterioussadventurestours.com.
MysteriousAdventuresTours.com.
Yep.
Do you have something about it on your page?
I will be advertising it again very soon.
Okay.
I go month by month basically because end of August, September, October, I'm fully booked.
That's great. That's great. And yourself, Patty Negri, and Father Sebastian
Yes.
hosting it. Sounds really cool. What other kind of things you got coming up? I know you got some events, one of which is sold out, I think, locally at the Pain House, right?
Yes, August 6th. No more tickets are on sale, unfortunately, but Becky Galentine, which is my haunted Galentine, TikTok superstar of over 550,000 followers, will be in attendance as one of the special guests. Ken DeCosta will be MC/tour guide, and then Matt Warner, my brother from another mother, of Warner Paranormal Explorers and Warner Historical Society, who runs Hartsfield Hall in Rockland, Massachusetts, will also be another special guest. So the four of us will be leading a small, intimate group of not special guests, but attendees, and we'll be investigating the 1794. Actually, no, is it? I think it might be 1693. To be honest with you, 1693. Let me actually look that up because that house is gone. Gosh darn old.
It is a gosh darn old
It
house.
is old house.
Supposedly haunted by a little girl.
Very much so. So it was. Oh no, sorry. Built in 1748. I was a little off.
1741.
1748.
Wow.
Built in 1748. Still gosh darn old house. And it was a schoolhouse. It was a tavern. It was multiple different things throughout its time since 1748, and I've had nothing but good experiences there. Nothing is evil there, but we've always had some sort of experience shared as well. Multiple people have experienced it. So if you're one of the lucky individuals that are going to be joining us August 6th, we'll see you in Coventry, Rhode Island.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, and I'm sure you're doing some of the Paracons that are coming up and
Yes,
different things.
yes, I'll be in Vulture City in Arizona for Paracon there
That's a
in
big one.
October. September, I'll be in San Antonio, Texas for Paranormal Fest out there at the Black Swan Inn.
Wow.
I will also. I'm supposed to be I'm supposed to be a moderator at the Warrens Paracon in October, but that hasn't been announced yet. So
So keep that on the down low.
keep it on the down low.
TL.
But yeah, no, I have I'm at the very first Paracon at Sleepy Hollow, New York, which is, of course, the story of the Headless Horseman, which is another huge
Very nice,
legend
very nice.
of the United States. So I'll be at the very first Paracon for that. That's in October. So I have a lot of events coming up, and that can all
You're a busy guy.
You are.
that can all be found on my Facebook. I announce them in order.
Well, we appreciate you taking the
Yes.
time to be on our humble little show and having us over and making,
Yes, thank
preparing. This guy
You guys are
cooks. I'm
family.
gonna tell
you.
you,
He
he
does.
cooks. He really cooks. He cooks
Mhm.
great.
Well, you guys were over here for Friendsgiving too.
Yeah.
So,
So you know I love to cook.
Yes.
Yeah, so it wasn't a real arm twist to come back and eat some more, was it?
That's
yeah,
having
we're
your
gonna-
baby.
Yes.
Yes, I knew that, of course.
And he didn't make a special appearance. He's probably doing what we all wish we could be doing right now.
Sleeping.
But though
Exactly.
I love the show, and after the show,
As long as you guys aren't sleeping,
You-
hey, wake up,
Because
wake
we're
up.
just having you have us over. So
So we want to thank
Yeah.
our audience out there, Greg,
Thanks, guys.
Linda, Jamie,
as usual.
Nate, Nathaniel, everybody, Steve, what is up, buddy? I know Greg said
Greg.
it looks like it is hot where you are at, and
Oh,
you're
yeah.
absolutely correct. And
Very, very humid.
and we have a fan, and it's not doing
So-
crap.
Yes, it is. If you're wondering why we keep going like this, that would be why. The
Oh, yeah,
fan.
that's
It does help a little bit.
It does.
It
help.
does. It does. It's a slight wind up my legs.
Yes.
I kind of like it.
My legs
Anyways.
are cold. The rest of these.
We'll be back. I'm not sure what we're doing Saturday. I'm not sure we have a guest, but we'll be back Saturday or next Thursday. Stay tuned to our pages: Dark Horse Paranormal, Paranormal United Network, Bigfoot, and the Bunny. And thank you again for joining. Have a great week. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye, guys.
Thank you, Jim.